Folks, as if Andor wasn't enough, we just got blessed with even more Star Wars content. Tales of the Jedi. Let's talk about it. Alright folks, so Tales of the Jedi, if you didn't know, I'm assuming since you clicked on the video you did, but if you didn't know, this little 6-episode series, episodes are like 15 minutes at most, in which they explore really Dooku and Ahsoka as Jedi. And so we get 3 episodes apiece for each of those characters, and just some really nice introspection into their lives and things we haven't seen before in the Star Wars universe. Let's talk about them. So I started this out with episode 1, which was, what was it? It was Ahsoka's birth, her birth, them finding out she's a Jedi, her community, and it was just not good. It's not very interesting, but whatever, I understand its importance. I get some people might have liked it, but almost nothing happens, nothing of interest at all, no good action, no good story beats, no good character development at all. And if this were part of, if you viewed Ahsoka's arc as if it were part of an Ahsoka film or something like that, I would obviously be less harsh because it would be in service of establishing Ahsoka as a character. But since it's not, since it's just a one-off episode, not a fan. But then you get to the other 5, and I have absolutely, I don't want to say nothing bad to say, but relatively nothing bad to say, because almost all of these episodes are good. If I could just have one more complaint about the overall series, it would be that I don't necessarily agree with how they constructed the show. Because maybe this is just, I know Disney Plus has experimented with episode order in the past, so I don't know if this is another example of that. But actually, maybe it wasn't Disney Plus who did that. But some streaming service have experimented with episode order in the past. And so I watched Ahsoka's first episode, then Dooku's 3 in a row, and then finished it off with Ahsoka's 2. And I think it would have been better if it were interspliced, if I went Ahsoka, Dooku, Ahsoka, Dooku, Ahsoka, Dooku. Besides that, that's just a relatively small gripe, because I think it's a better continuation that way when you look at their arcs. And finishing off Ahsoka and Dooku's arcs in this miniseries in roughly opposite ways, I think makes for pretty interesting storytelling. But regardless, I want to talk Ahsoka's episodes first, just because I like them a little bit less, and I'll get into why. So I talked about the first Ahsoka episode, not the biggest fan, and then you have an episode of her training, a training episode with her, and it's some good content. You get to look at an Anakin and Obi-Wan in their Clone Wars outfits, although Obi-Wan's rocking the Attack of the Clones mullet. And it's nice to just see Ahsoka content where she's training. She's obviously, she's a persevering individual. We know this about her, and it's nice to get a glimpse at that again. Is it covering any new ground by any means? Not particularly. And we get to see a headstrong Anakin. We get a look at the clones, and then obviously it ties back in to Clone Wars Season 7. So some clever stuff there. Not the most, engaging episode, but it's certainly enough. And then you have maybe probably the best Ahsoka episode out of the bunch is her last one, in which and then again, this is spoilers, so just, click off if you haven't seen, or just skip a bit if you don't want to know. The Ahsoka episode that I'm about to speak of, it is the one in which she is in the village. She's no longer Jedi. It's after Order 66, the Empire is ruling, and she's living in this town. And it's mildly interesting, and then you get to the end, and it really picks up when the Inquisitor starts looking for her. One of the people in the town rats her out, and you just see the might of the Empire again, the brutal nature of the Empire in their pursuit of any living Jedi. And then Ahsoka is pretty badass in that little fight. She just that guy's head. So very interesting. Great stuff there. And then obviously this ties into Ahsoka's. She leaves. That's a phone ringing. You'll have to give me a sec. Keeps ringing. Just 1 second until it stops. It's another. And then obviously this episode is particularly interesting because we've never seen Ahsoka. We've seen Ahsoka at the end of the Clone Wars, and with Season 7 that came out, last year? And then we've seen her, obviously, I haven't seen Rebels, but obviously, her gray Jedi stuff. where she's still committed to doing the right thing, but not in the order of the Jedi, as it was once known. And so this is a nice little bridge to find out, that this is the gap that was missing is now filled in. But the Dooku stuff is really interesting to me because, unless I'm mistaken, we haven't gotten any content, maybe books and whatnot, but any content in which he was actually a Jedi. And so we get a look at that here. But the really interesting thing is not only is it just him as a Jedi, but we get bits and pieces of why he no longer felt faithful to the Jedi Order. So you start off in his first episode, he's investigating a kidnapping of a senator's son, and the town that again, spoilers for this episode, the town that kidnapped the son, the entire town is responsible because they've been forgotten. They've been neglected by the Republic. And Dooku recognized this, and then obviously his apprentice, Qui-Gon, who is a Jedi known for bending the rules to do the right thing. We see this in Phantom Menace. And he is obviously goes against the Jedi Order. He was never a master for that reason. But he knew that he was doing the right thing in his heart, and that's why he did it, which is something we now learn, he got from Dooku. He learned that from Dooku. And we see Dooku at every step of the way questioning the Republic, questioning the Jedi. He's a man who wants to do the right thing, but he doesn't believe that the Jedi are doing the right thing. And so it makes the prequel Dooku, the Clone Wars Dooku, that much more interesting. He was always an interesting character, but the fact that he's truly a believer in doing the right thing, and he really believes in the separatist cause above any allegiance to evil or anything like that, like Palpatine manipulated him, obviously, but this was a guy who really just wanted to separate from the Republic because he saw the impact that the Jedi and the Senate had. They were not representing the people, which is just, almost a true fact about the Star Wars universe at this point. The Jedi are certainly good. They're trying to do the right thing, but they were a part of such a bad institution that failed so many. It's why the Empire existed. The Republic and the Jedi are responsible for the Empire's existence. And Dooku thought he could combat that. Did he go a little far? Absolutely. He worked with Palpatine, which obviously, if he had known that the Empire would be the outcome of their little Clone Wars, then I do not think he would have been as involved as he was. But these episodes are some really great introspection. Then obviously you get this excellent finale. He works with Windu in his second episode. And also, again, begins to question the Republic. And he's just about helping the people. He wants to be a keeper of the peace, which is what the Jedi were supposed to do. That should be their fundamental goal. And Dooku saw that that was not their fundamental goal. And then we actually even see that Dooku was a part of the Order when Qui-Gon died. Dooku was a part of the Order in the Phantom Menace. And he was deeply hurt to hear the passing of his apprentice. He talked to Palpatine about it. He said, we went too far. You went too far with this one. Because he didn't want to be responsible for the death of his apprentice. And they had a good relationship. Dooku he's such a fascinating character now. Again, I always liked him, but he's just made so much more interesting by Tales of the Jedi. So I did not expect to like this series as much as I did. I did not expect it to have this much an impact on my Star Wars knowledge, specifically as it relates to Dooku, as it did. But I'm very appreciative of it. And then you obviously get the introduction of Yaddle, who's a character we've heard of, we've seen before. I think it's very funny, by the way. A lot of people have pointed this out, that she speaks normally, meaning Yoda is just doing this on purpose for whatever reason, but because he's a weirdo. But it's hilarious. And then obviously her spoilers, her tragic passing at the hands of Dooku, who is so committed to this cause. And this is a representation, again, of how, even though he wanted to do the right thing, at this point he was so blinded and too far in league with Palpatine that he couldn't go back. The Jedi Order was not a home to him anymore. He knew that if he wanted any hope at succeeding in his goal of getting the Republic the help it needed, he had to ally with Palpatine, which meant killing Yaddle. And then you obviously evil Palpatine cackling in the background, like absolutely genius stuff. I'd love to see just evil Palpatine. Like Filoni has such a grasp on this universe, specifically prequel era stuff. I think he really, really excels in. And so I'm glad that he got Clone Wars Season 7. I'm exceptionally glad that he got Tales of the Jedi. And I think the show, I've said most of it here, but I think the show's strongest point is that it excels in fleshing out Dooku as a character, his motives, and just that the thing that the Clone Wars was so good at originally is being a companion piece to the prequels. It fills in those gaps that you don't know. It makes those characters in those movies that much more interesting. It makes Anakin's fall to the dark side feel so much more powerful. It is an excellent companion piece. And that's what Tales of the Jedi is as well. It builds off of Dooku's character, his legacy, and it makes it retrospectively better. That's what Filoni's good at, that's what the Clone Wars was good at, and that is what Tales of the Jedi is good at. And so, folks, I was expecting to maybe have a bit of fun with this. I was not nearly expecting it to like it as much as I did. It's going to be an easy A. If you're a Star Wars fan, absolutely check this one out. I mean, obviously, you probably already have if you're a Star Wars fan, but please, it's very good. It's bite-sized content. You'll finish it in 2 hours, honestly. Like, you will binge it less than 2 hours, really, because this stuff is quick. It's super digestible, super interesting. And again, the bigger the Star Wars fan you are, the more, especially prequels, obviously, Dooku and Ahsoka, if you like the Clone Wars, you're going to eat this up because it's really, really good. All right, folks, I've been EDPC Reviews. You've been absolutely amazing. If you saw it, let me know what you thought of it down below. If you liked it as much as I did, if you were expecting to like it as much as you did, because again, this was a surprise for me. I very much liked it and was not expecting it to be as good as it was. So I've been EDPC Reviews. You've just been the absolute best. I will see you in the next Andor episode. Bye-bye.